Hey, thanks for reaching out. So, I've got a couple of strategies for you. I was thinking, what do I got for you? A couple strategies. So, the first one is you wanted to know what they are in different areas. So, I want to show you a cool search. Cool because I thought of it, and it's called, I call it contextual searching. So, if you do a search for mandatory minimum sentencing, I put it in quote marks because I want those words to stick together. You can see there's like some lobbying groups, activist groups, and things like that. But how do you find it except in like different reports? How do we find like what's going on? So here's a cool trick. In Google, you can put the context first. And then when you put a colon after it, and then put in whatever you're searching for, the colon means kind of ignore that first thing for now, but in mandatory minimum sentencing, look at that in things that are only in Utah. And then you'll get a list of these things from like Utah state courts. Or you can switch it to California. And you should. I wonder if we need ca.gov. There we go. California Department of Corrections and Rehab. Oh, it's because they ended it in 2021. Well, that's why it's hard to find. You could also do smaller areas, or you could do like tribal regions, like Navajo Nation. But what you get with a lot of these are kind of interpretations or kind of newsy sort of articles where people are talking about it or arguing about it. So be careful what you're looking for and check your sources. So for example, here it says it's been considered by the Navajo Nation, but then look at their sources and it's just like, ooh, 2013, that might be a little bit out of date. You can also go to usa.gov and you could do that same search, mandatory minimum sentencing in quotes. What? Oh, I didn't like the quotes. Something's going on with usa.gov right now because that's unusual. And I've had that same thing. Call usa.gov. No thanks. So, oh, I wonder if we could do, okay, let's do it. Let's try Google again. usa.gov with the colon, mandatory minimum sentencing. Oh yeah, we hacked it. So maybe it's just their search engine is down. But here you can see the U.S. Sentencing Commission, and these might have a lot of the graphics. These are not scholarly sources. It's very valid and credible data, but scholarly sources require a little bit more processing and a little bit more of different things to follow to reduce bias. Let me show you those. So go to the library homepage, go to advanced catalog search, because if you do that quote search in the main search, it erases the quotes. It's a new feature. I don't know why, but do that. And then you'll get like books and articles and things like that. And you would just go over to peer-reviewed journals right here. And you can find articles. Beware that some of these are really old. So let's go to date newest. And what we'll do with a scholarly article, let me show you one of them. I'll go into the PDF. It's typically not going to have a broad scope, but it's going to have like a very niche and focused thing that's going on. So it's got a clickbaity title where you know what you're getting. And when you go into the abstract, let me see if I can zoom in. When you go to the abstract, all the abstracts in scholarly articles kind of play the same way, where they talk about the problem or they establish what's going on. Then they talk about like how they're gathering data. And then at the very end, we get these sweet conclusions. So they establish their place, then they talk about how they're gathering data, and then they're concluding. And then what is a key moment in this is where the people are coming from and the journal that's bothering to publish them. So there's reputations involved. But we conclude substantial assistance departures are an important mechanism. Oh, interesting. Demandatorize life sentences. So I don't know what's going on with this one. But they're talking about federal drug offenses. So when you go into a scholarly article, let's look for tables. So if you find one where you're just like, that would be useful for what I'm looking for. Look for tables of data. Looking for a table, there's a table. And this is where you can get data for your infographic. So you can see these are variables, and you can see this is like, I don't know if this is related necessarily to drugs, but you'd look for a table like this where you can have your infographic. And typically they will have all sorts of tables like this that give you more data than you can shake a stick at. So let's go back, let's do a different search. So instead of just looking for this, let me show you a criminology database. So this library catalog, by the way, searches everything from like mechanical engineering to ballet, rehab, interventions. But we want to go straight to criminology. You can do that in the databases if you have a good enough mouse. There's like 450 of these databases. Most of them are collections of multiple journals in different disciplines. Some are kind of all over the place, and some are subject specific. So you can go to the subject specific ones on this list. We'll go down to criminology. And thankfully, there's two at the top that are pretty good. Criminology Collection and Criminal Justice Database. When you go into these, there's overlap between the two of them. That's cute. But this is criminology only. So justice, courts, population analysis, all sorts of stuff like that. So this time, let's go in. But there's already some opinion there. But let's go in, and in the next one, let's do drug or drugs. So if I don't know which keyword it's going to look for, I can put both of them with an or in between. And then I want to do peer-reviewed. So this time we're not just going to get mandatory minimum sentencing, we're going to get it specifically tied to the war on drugs. Oh, I got peer review checked. And let's go through. Well, first of all, let's come up to our current decade-ish. It'll take a minute. Oh, look at that, racial disparities. Prosecuting overdose. Plea bargains. There's all sorts of things going on, and they're going to have really focused scope of their study. So what you would do is you would go in, just like we looked at these in that previous database, and you'd go in, and if it makes sense, if it's something that interests you, that you think you could apply to your poster, then you can go in and look past the literature review, and you could look past their methodology. They might have some good quotes and things like this. But then we're just looking for, oh, this one didn't have any data sets. So we might have to look for a different one. Does that make sense? Let me know. But it's kind of like looking in a box of puzzle pieces. You sift, and then you're like, oh, that's a good one. And oh, that's a good one. And then you throw these other ones away. If you have 130 to pick from, that's a good place to go. So the web strategy, scholarly article strategy is a good place to go. By the way, all these have citation generators that are pretty good. So it depends on if you're using APA or any of these other 10,000 styles. Let me know how it goes. Good luck.